It's day 2 here of the Quake World Championship, and it's now time for some quarterfinal matchups. Kicking things off with k1llsen versus dramiS. Joining me on the desk, we got ZSX and Lethal. Gentlemen, what a great quarterfinal to kick off with. And, you know, this is the point in that tournament where it's like, oh, yeah, my favorite is still in it. They're in the upper bracket. Well, guess what? Some favorites are going to be dropping down and visiting the lower to hang out for a little while. And this is the first of those matches.
Yeah, and we said earlier that today is maybe the day where we're starting to see some upsets. This, for me, might be a sneaky one of those. I thought we saw k1llsen yesterday, and he wasn't entirely convincing. And in the past, we've also seen that k1llsen, this is my hypothesis, k1llsen puts more pressure on himself when he's seen as the favorite. The event he won back in the day, no one was talking about k1llsen. He came out of the woodwork to win that one. But any event he's gone in, having had a solid season, having done really, really well, he places decently, but for his standards, it's not enough. And so I think this is a big event for him to prove those kind of doubters wrong.
Yeah, I totally agree as well. Like, online, like, he's obviously been that #1 seed. He looked so damn good throughout the entirety of the season. But I wouldn't say he has land jitters, but there's very small moments where he seems a bit off-key, and he's hoping that he can rectify that going into it. But it's not as easy. That remember, it's been 3 years since we've been able to transition. k1llsen does sometimes fully transition across all his expertise in the online environment to here, but sometimes he does not. But hopefully we'll be able to see more of him as the time goes. We've only seen one series, but we'll see how things progress, and you can just see right from there.
I mean, that's sick.
Says it all. It says it all.
It's one of those things where it's like, well, on paper, I see a lot of 3-0s, so how does k1llsen lose this? And, you know, I think, right, let's talk about his opponent, because dramiS has looked quite good this tournament. He went up against his teammate, CNC. Real nice play coming out of him there, and you know, looks to be a player that maybe doesn't have that pressure that you were talking about, you know, Dan, and is confident enough in his own skills. He knew that this was a potential matchup that he may be up against, and I think a lot of players thought about what are my potential opponents in this tournament and how am I going to be dealing with each of those.
Right, and then you look at his results, and you know, 2-1 Razy, 2-1 Rapper, 2-1 Venga.
Exactly.
He's taken out the top 3 people of everyone's playbook of who's going to win this event. And that's by no accident. And this is the thing. He's somebody that is fairly new at the pro level compared to some of the dinosaurs we have here. But he brings a breath of fresh air in terms of his aggression, his play style, his aim. It's just about refining that. Being more clinical, much like the Venga series we cast earlier, taking it to that level where you don't make those small mistakes and let players like k1llsen in, because if you don't, that's what happens. You have those results where you beat the very, very best, and he can do that.
Look, Dan, those dinosaurs are fueling your cars, okay? So just some respect, all right? Let's go. Ari, what are your thoughts? You know, dramiS, what do you think about?
Literally, dramiS is one of those players in previous seasons. Every time we came to a stage final or, like, you know, the Quake World Championships, we were like, where was this dramiS, like, throughout the entirety of the season? But we saw that version of dramiS probably half the season, especially the first half, taking those 3 players, like basically all the favorites in the competition. And now that those 3 weeks have come by and he's now practicing better at the peak performance, again, you were saying about the pressure. He's 9th seed. He hasn't got much pressure on him at all. He just does what he does. I just came on the stage earlier, and he's just went up fit and ready to go to try and take him down. And this is the difference between the two, which is why it should, well, maybe just go all the way.
Yeah. You ready to look at the picks and the bands?
Oh, man.
Let's take a look at the picks and the bands as we bring them up right here and see how this might play into the storyline that we're seeing here. Corrupted Keep's going to be our first map, picked by k1llsen. dramiS is going to throw Ruins into the ring, and then Awoken as the final matchup. What was the ooh?
It was the Slash versus the Galena on Ruins. That is quite a dynamic. Yeah, across the board, pretty decent. That's the only one I'm going to concentrate on, just because obviously the speed differential is there. We know from experience dramiS favors playing either with a heavy champion like k1llsen, just to really use that stack and bully his opponent, or with speed, particularly with a Slash, and he has neither of those. Not a champion I often associate with dramiS, and it is a very particular play style, particularly on Ruins, because you just have to set up camp down in the heavy, basically, get your Fortress of Solitude up with the totems, and then just play slow. And that's not what I see from dramiS. He's capable of it for sure, but it's not what I see. Whereas k1llsen with that slash can open up the angles of the rail, and if he does string them together, it's a lot of pressure. So we need to see the more clinical side of dramiS there, not the flashy execution. And that's why it's a bit of a strange one for me.
k1llsen banning Veil, of course, so we're going to skip that little bit and see what... It's like you said there, at some point, if he gets to a best of 7, won't be doing that again. And dramiS, he bans Insomnia. I don't think he's banned it because k1llsen's not very good at it. He's just banned it just for his own sake, because some of k1llsen's worst maps has been sometimes on the likes of DM Ruins, but it depends on the circumstances. Like, for me, like, Corrupted Keep and Veil, it's not been his best maps, but statistically, there's not really much to go by, because he dropped 3 maps the entire season. But he's gone with Corrupted Keep anyway for a reason against dramiS, due to the fact that for dramiS, that has been his worst map by miles. So he's going to try and take advantage of it anyway. Ruins, he's seen k1llsen be a little bit off-key, which is understandable. But yeah, you're right, though. The dynamic of both these champions is very unusual, so of course those hourglass is going to play a massive factor for dramiS to see if k1llsen can work out what pattern rotation is going to make. And that Awoken matchup, it's just as standard as they come. Death Knight's becoming more and more popular, especially on Awoken, and Doom is just Doom, just in a nutshell on Awoken.
Is it safe to say that there is a head prediction and there is a heart prediction on this one?
Yeah, there is, I think, Wheat. And I'm going to throw it back to you as to what your head and your heart is saying.
I think the head prediction is pretty simple. Like, you saw the sea of 3-0s there, and when you go and you swim there, you're swimming with a champion, no doubt about it. But it's certainly, you know, we saw some of the vulnerability yesterday with k1llsen. We saw, I think, the comfortableness of dramiS. So I think there's a partially the heart prediction that's like, yeah, maybe dramiS could take this one 2-1, but the head prediction being like k1llsen should be able to take this, maybe also 2-1.
Right, and I'm gonna leave it with a quote that dramiS himself gave me.
Okay, drop it.
I was like, "What happened yesterday? You played really, really well." I don't know, dude. I'm just feeling it. I mean, that's how it goes. He's feeling it. He was hitting everything yesterday, and I think like, on his day, he can take out anyone. He can go toe-to-toe with the rail and the aim of k1llsen, and that's when k1llsen gets scared. And dramiS has a bit of an X factor about him. You know, you speak to any pro, no one wants to play him because he makes them angry. He does some stuff that shouldn't work, but he makes it happen. It's just the dramiS thing. He's looking as chilled as ever. I'm going to agree. I'm going to say 2-1 k1llsen just because I think it's the logical thing to do. But like you said, this could easily be a 2-1 dramiS, and I think k1llsen a little bit stressed.
Yeah, I'm going to say 2-1 k1llsen as well. I think it's going to be that safe bet in that retrospect. But it's like I said, dramiS, like, we're not too sure if he's the kind of player who can win a championship, but he's that diamond in the rough for some of his top players. So just look and think, oh, God, we know this is going to be a bit of a risky state if I make like one wrong move or very little error. And it's just like one of those things. And it's nice because every time I see dramiS on stage, doesn't matter what kind of environment he's in, he's happy, he's ready to go, doesn't care who he's up against. He's just ready to get Larry on stage and ready to really give it his all against k1llsen.
Well, this quarterfinals is seconds away from beginning. Gentlemen, enjoy yourselves and take us into this match.
Thank you, Wheat. We do start, having spoken about rail all cast long, on a map without rail, Lethal. We're starting on Corrupted Keep. We often talk about k1llsen being this rail-heavy player, but he is actually somebody who specializes on Corrupted Keep. And you look back in the days of Lost World, DM13, he was a favorite there too. He loved these maps where he could have that mid-ground, play around the LG, the hit scan, and just have that deep control like we saw from Venga earlier. But saying that, he's going up against someone that won't be afraid to go toe-to-toe. He's gone in early with the Pika, stolen away now that Mega as well, and we're just going to reset for a pretty standard opening.
Yeah, the map picks have just been very interesting alone. Like, k1llsen didn't go for like one of his best choices. He just went for what dramiS is worst, and he's clearly done a lot of research in order to make sure that he can apply a lot of pressure even before the match even begins. And again, using that range with that heavy machine gun from dramiS, looking pretty good so far, and ready to pick up that Mega, as Heavy's also been taken away too much in terms of timing here. k1llsen trying to throw a few rockets at him as dramiS just standing his ground, even though he doesn't have the stack advantage. But so looking good so far, just dicing around, just trying to feel each other out here, and it's not too shabby from both players.
No, dramiS is definitely on the back foot, not able to gain any momentum, any items at the moment, but at the same time, he's not giving up too much damage to k1llsen. And he's beginning to stabilize. The hard part about playing against k1llsen is that you know what he's going to do. He's going to set up on that mid ground. He's going to play slow. He's going to use the audio cues. The question is, how do I counter that? It's so difficult, and not many people have the recipe. dramiS saying that is now beginning to build himself a nice little stack, got himself the Mega, and you can see pretty much bang on even now. In fact, dramiS is slightly ahead in terms of raw stack. He's got himself over to the heavy side of the map very, very early. Items are on the same time lethal, so they will just trade for now, and it's a very good and respectful opening. Saying that k1llsen's being proactive here, he's got a little bit of a delay.
Yeah, still just currently working out each other's rotations. We know how much of a pain in the backside Strog can be without peeking in this matchup without the rail. 2 minutes in, k1llsen just biding his time at the moment just to see if he can sneak around and pick up that heavy. Remember though, dramiS does have that height advantage. He wants to rain down rockets as he sees fit, but he's on top of that red rim, but he will find them shortly if he prioritises the heavy. And k1llsen's got his LG ready, finds him, uses the Pika instantly, but the Pika also gets taken out in just the same amount of time. So Mega's up as well. He does manage to grab that. The item's still not perfectly in sync, but not enough time to contest the both, as now dramiS going back and forward to trying to mess with k1llsen's head just a little bit here. But both of them just playing very safe, very reserved, but k1llsen does have that, the heavy machine gun and putting it to good use.
And those are the small elements that are going to make a big difference for any future engagements. Getting the earlier damage, the free damage against your opponents, it adds up so much. But we continue to just trade, and you can see the game of chess that's unfolding here is they're just both delaying, both trying to offset timings, both fighting for that control in the mid area. k1llsen becoming a little bit more dominant without saying that. He's gone in aggressively, and dramiS actually somehow gets the conversion with the Pika, I believe. That was close, but also k1llsen knows his prey is low. That's why he's gone flying in. There is no orb, so it's all just by foot, and he makes it count. But again, what a messy couple of frags that was.
Yeah, we had such a slow start and then just a catastrophe over the course of the last 20 seconds.
Right.
Items are up, Mega's been picked up. k1llsen hasn't gone for it yet. He's kind of and ahhing about it to see what he wants to do, but he's going for the battle of attrition, to go for the light, go for the heavy straight after. It's perfectly understandable. Or specified as possible, but it's delayed it very heavily. I like this from k1llsen. Just will definitely throw dramiS off if he decides to change his priority.
The big question here has to be done with the HMG. Hasn't got a lightning gun. Needs to do this old school. Orb comes out, tries to catch him mid-Pika. Doesn't actually succeed, and now he's worked himself out of position. They're both going to continue to rain down a little bit of pain from afar. dramiS respecting k1llsen, though. I think that's a little bit of a mistake. Maybe not realizing how weak his opponent was and gives that up. He's in the heavy area, and you can see k1llsen's respect, on the contrary, allowing dramiS to get away with that heavy. And we continue this game of cat and mouse.
Yeah, this is a very difficult route to take for dramiS. And this is not so much to be in 2 directs, 3 directs in a row. What's that?
Yeah, that's the first questionable play by dramiS of the game, and k1llsen absolutely makes that one pay. Wasn't really a need to contest for that. Saying that he's actually gone up extra aggressive here. k1llsen's actually with a drop down. Oh, dramiS, you had the advantage in terms of stack, but not in terms of positioning.
3 directs in a row. I'm not going to be forgetting that in the long while. I can tell you that. It's not something you see every day. k1llsen keeping the high ground, coming up for his next Mega in 7 seconds. As k1llsen now just double checking the whereabouts to see where he is, also collecting his hourglasses in case it does re-engage with that orb. Mega's been picked up by dramiS, but heavy's up in the next few seconds as well. k1llsen just standing his ground with that heavy machine gun. Gets a little bit of damage done, like Dan said, of course. Every little helps in terms of getting this damage, which does add up over time.
Yeah, but it's still very cagey from both players. k1llsen appreciates that dramiS is going to hold his own in all of these engagements. That big rocket is met by a similar counter from dramiS. There is still that split between the items, so if anyone manages to get a clean pickup, they have the opportunity to scuttle himself across, and k1llsen's done exactly that, but he's been met by the LG of dramiS dropping into it. Nevertheless, k1llsen has the stack, and he takes another frag. 4.5 minutes to go, but only 3 frags in it. But from what we've seen so far, it's going to be difficult for dramiS to get himself a comeback, as k1llsen is setting up nicely in the mid-game. Saying that, that's what happens.
Unbelievable, but it's just that recovery process now. dramiS does manage to get all his HP, but no armor to his name as of yet. We'll be up in 5 seconds, though, and this is where he needs to make a, I was going to say a tight decision in terms of like how he's going to approach this, but it's finally looks like the heavy won't be contested in its entirety from k1llsen that time round, using that Strog. Not its full potential, but just get a little bit of info just to fully confirm what exactly going on top mid as Mega's coming out in the next 10 seconds. Decides to dive on in for the road room. That was a A very dicey rocket there from k1llsen, very close for dramiS, but dramiS, luckily, does save his bacon for now. Still only 2 frags behind, still plenty of time with the mobility, the wide variety of strategy you can use of him. It's definitely a huge opportunity for him to come back.
We continue to trade major items. k1llsen delaying once again. dramiS obviously seeing that, so it's not a trick, but it has put more separation, and that increases the pressure on this rotation. k1llsen is definitely going to be able to pressure this, but dramiS knows exactly what's up. He's got his opponent trapped in. He knows he's done quite a lot of damage. Trying to force something out. No orb available just yet, and k1llsen's being whittled away. dramiS might even go in for the kill here if he can get a hit. Big rocket, there it comes. Will he go flying on you? Yes, he will. The orb is there, though. k1llsen's got himself away. Is he going to go for this Mega? No, he's just playing a backwards game. Going on the rotation, but dramiS caught that. He's read it with... k1llsen gets away for now. Mega's up, and Mega's gone. That was super unfortunate. Really great play by dramiS, but k1llsen, the trickster he is, lives to fight another day.
Yeah, I think dramiS wanted that heavy anyway over the Mega, so it made perfect sense. But the Mega for k1llsen was huge due to how weak he was, so it didn't matter too much. Now items are in sync again, so dramiS won't be able to get full control. He had full item control in that department, then this is where dramiS could tie things up a little bit easier than expected. 2 minutes 20 left. dramiS just standing his ground, just making sure to pick up this heavy before he approaches k1llsen once again. Some good damage though as he pushes him all the way over to the heavy machine gun area. That could be a good rocket for him, and now just trying to circle his way around and just forcing him to take those same routes over the heavy machine gun to heavy area.
k1llsen is desperately trying to be efficient as he can with these major items, trying to put a little bit more delay on it, trying to use it at the very last second once he's taken damage. It's all about the small margins here, marginal gains, and dramiS is just trying to track this opponent down. He knows there's no orb, but at the same time, the positioning of k1llsen is such that he can't press in. The door is open to keep the pressure on this Mega, though k1llsen's there, and he's so weak, but he just can't catch him. The orb is 20 seconds away. So dramiS can try and use that speed to his advantage. The question is, how proficient is k1llsen's next layer of defense going to be? He's in a solid spot. dramiS knows where he is, but that's not the issue. The issue is, can I catch him without taking too much damage? Because the refrag will happen otherwise.
I love that little rocket there through towards the hourglasses. dramiS now looking to try and at least get as much momentum as possible to try and catch him and throw this. Or you can see he's trying to do so much from a methodical standpoint, but k1llsen's just like, I'm going to be on a defensive. I know I'm in some deep trouble, but as long as I get some good defensive rockets in, I can definitely even this out.
Yeah, that go toe-to-toe. k1llsen can't get away, but he's done so much damage. dramiS is going to go on the aggressive here. The peak is not up either. The heavy machine gun's there, but oh my gosh, k1llsen gets away once again. Yes, they might trade items, but this is the last hurrah for dramiS. There is nothing left in the tank. There's nothing left in terms of the timing. He's got to make it happen now, Lethal. The refrag's there, but k1llsen's got in, and he's got the winning frag.
That was so good there from k1llsen. Such great defense overall. He's been waiting for the opportunity to get out for the last 3 minutes. And for a Ranger, it's not easy. Yes, you have that orb, but of course, orbs don't come every second. It's going to be one of those situations where he was able to get out so many times. But he made the right reads. He made the right assumptions on what dramiS is going to be up to here. And for a 6-2 victory compared to what it could have been due to the stack dramiS had most of the time, very, very efficient indeed. 20 items to the 17 of dramiS. A very close affair indeed, but that's going to be the first map heading in the way of k1llsen. But you kind of feel like, from dramis's perspective, there were so many occasions where he probably thought, if I only had a rail each and every single time, at least 3 or 4 different situations. But it's good stuff from k1llsen, definitely looking a lot better. Very calculated approach compared to what we saw yesterday, and dramiS knows that, I wouldn't say it's a tall order, but now he's got to go back-to-back maps. But we are going to the next map. I think it'll be, was it Ruins next? So yeah, there should be something for him to discuss and see what we can maybe assume is going to happen during this matchup, because it's not something you normally see every day with the Slash and the Galena.
No, not at all. And that map 1 was fantastic from both sides. It was the smallest of margins from start to finish. It came down to a few perfectly executed fights, and then ultimately just how well each one player was positioning and managing that mid-range with the right weaponry. So really fantastic play for both players. k1llsen obviously slightly ahead in terms of scoreline, slightly more refined in terms of execution. And that, yeah, you rightly put it, the last 3 minutes of defensive play was absolutely perfect. The way he was positioning, kiting dramiS around the map. Remember, he didn't have the speed advantage. Yes, he has an orb, but it's got a big cooldown, and so he had to play that absolutely perfectly, and he did. But we do move on to a map now that is radically different in terms of scope. It has a new weapon in the rail, and we've got 2 different, very different champions in the Galena and the slash. And as we talked about in the intro, that means dramiS on the k1llsen is just going to have to play slower. It's going to have to play around the heavy, most likely, try and build that overstack, and be wary of the angles, because that's what the slash will bring. She can open up the angles, she can get into your face earlier, she can cut up those exit routes. So getting out of that heavy area sometimes becomes a task in itself. So I am a bit fearful for dramiS here. I do think the slash is a great pick, and it's going to be a cagey game once again.
Yeah, when we see those fights around heavy, it just ends up being a bloodbath. It's like a street fight outside a nightclub, pretty much, isn't it? It's just ridiculous what we see there, depending on the circumstances. But we've seen some great players in the past have certain patterns with the totems, so that at the same time they're putting pressure on their opponent, but still staying in the area and in the proximity of the totems to help himself further with that overstack, rather than prioritising those unorthodox positions you normally would with the totems. But yeah, that's going to be another sight for sore eyes for k1llsen if he doesn't keep tabs of that. But of course, with the speed and mobility of the slash, there's certainly be too many problems about that. It's just going to be a very tough task indeed. Again, Hourglass is going to be a huge factor for dramiS, and k1llsen's got to work out what routes he's going to take, going towards the courtyard to get the Hourglass, of course, with the heavy jump pad. So, and the only other thing I do worry is if k1llsen gets that early frag lead, 1 or 2 frags, because that's when he's going to feel like in the long term it's going to get tougher and tougher as the clock ticks.
No, 100%. Getting behind against a slash is painful. We saw it in the previous map when k1llsen didn't have a speed advantage. So that's exactly the situation going to be, but a little bit harder. What I'm definitely going to watch out for, though, is going to be the rail, going to be the entryway rockets. They're going to be the 2 pivotal moments in terms of opening up the game. I don't expect it to be a massively high-scoring one. I don't expect it to be massively quick either. Let's just see how dramiS plays this one. We know he wants to fight and wants to play fast, but he just has to rein that in for this particular matchup.
It's weird. You kind of feel like they've taken each other's characters or taking each other's champions in that respect. Normally you expect dramiS to probably, go for the slashes, because it's more of that reactive play. He thrives off the speed. He thrives trying to go for those drive-by rails, etc. But now the shoe's on the other foot, and he's the one who's going to have to try and comply with what he needs to contend with here against that slash. But it's interesting to see him play with the k1llsen, and I'd like to see exactly what he's going to be up to and what he's going to be able to do. But it's like I said, the early game is going to be very difficult. It's going to be kind of like a game of chess to a certain extent, but it just depends on that first frag and who's going to be able to get it. If k1llsen does, then dramiS is going to have a tough road ahead of him. If he gets it himself, then that's where dramiS has got to decide exactly how to hold on to it whilst controlling these items against the speed of the slash. So, second map of the series, k1llsen's coming up 1-0 in this best-of-3 in the first winners finals, and we're going to see if dramiS can take to map 3 or if k1llsen's going to close this out.
dramiS getting that heavy spawn already with the LG and the rail. More than confident going up. He knows k1llsen's only got a rocket to work with. The 4th position. k1llsen sneaks away with the LG for now. And this is the caginess we're talking about here. k1llsen knows what's up. He knows his opponent is there, but there's nothing he can do. dramiS saying, hey bro, come out to play. But k1llsen's got nothing to do with that. Second totem's up now, probably dropped on the jump pad. There we go. Now, the other challenge for k1llsen in this kind of situation will be just getting down into that area, trying to clear those totems out. It's a question mark whether he actually goes out of his way to do that. Just moving into the heavy space can be dangerous, but he knows his opponent isn't anywhere to be found, and that's exactly what the plan is here. Sneak on down, close it out. Nearly clipped by that rail there, but not to be.
You could see already the game plan. I've seen k1llsen actually do something very similar with the totems. Like, you could have one on the back stairs and a couple around that heavy jump pad, or maybe one courtyard just to help himself out, and then just take those same routes. He needs to have as much advantage as possible, and if he does get the overstake eventually, it does. Yeah, sure, he doesn't need the mega as much, but it's just nice to still take it away from your opponent. But the heavy will always be in play, and he'll always have that slightly larger stack for his opponent to contend with. But dramiS has to back away once again. They're still both down there, and let's see if he can at least hold on.
Yeah, now map control is firmly in the corner of k1llsen. He'll be picking up this heavy, and he knows exactly when the Mega's going to be having timed it. There's a big separation between the two. Nicely placed totem to forward that information, but dramiS has just set up enough to sway k1llsen from any sort of aggression on to that middle area. And we're seeing what we expected. Caginess coming out from both sides, saying that huge rocket on the drop down. Great awareness from k1llsen. Back to square one for dramiS. And punishing the exit lethal is a really pivotal moment. As I mentioned, there's only really 3 exits there. Only 2 that get used a lot. k1llsen spotted coming out of one of them. He couldn't punish it to any degree, and that's exactly why k1llsen's come flying through, and this is the area you don't want to be in, and there's a k1llsen in that middle area, punished as soon as he shows face.
Yeah, this is where the worry starts, and k1llsen hasn't even touched the rail yet, which is very uncharacteristic of him. It's been 2.5 minutes in. The Spartans and Rockets and LG here, some great Rockets indeed. This is easy going to be a 2-0 lead for k1llsen, and this is where I'm going to start to worry even more for dramiS. Kind of playing into his game, and this he cannot let things spiral out of control this early on.
No, and this is the danger now. Now k1llsen's got this lead, he can just play even slower and more defensive around this middle part of the map and just prohibit his opponent from getting that rail, at least for free. Because what are you meant to do in dramiS issues without that rail? Like, you just have to rain down pain with rockets. It's really difficult. He has managed to get in, get that rail, and get down to the heavy though. So all things considered, amazing play from dramiS, plus that connection not exchanged from k1llsen. So really definitely the best of a bad situation. dramiS popping out on top as well. He knows the next item up is a Mega, but he just hasn't got the speed to get across.
It's so difficult on Ruins. I spoke about it before. On Blood Covenant, yeah, sure, at least you've got the verticality to kind of trap your opponent when you see fit. But on Ruins, it's just an entirely different story, especially if you're hitting rails like that as well. This is just slowly denting dramiS' stack as we go forward and just consistently finding the totems also. And dramiS just sitting there down below as k1llsen had to stay in above with that Mega coming up in the next few seconds, as he does have the chance to try and contest both items, but with the heavy position to where it is, it's going to be very tough for k1llsen just to drop on down and make a go of it. 4 minutes in, though, still with that 2-frag lead.
Yeah, just toying with each other, bustling for position here. k1llsen set up extremely early. dramiS is going to drop, but he's not going to commit. He hasn't hit any rails, so far too risky to make a maneuver down. And eating that rail in exchange means k1llsen might now feel confident to push in for this Mega. He's had to delay himself and check it, so we'll take the safer route and just make sure he punishes any sort of exit. And there you go, 2 big rockets there, eating up all of the stack of dramiS. And it's so difficult to even get the lights because they're completely out of his rotational remit. And he's being punished for even daring to show face in the room of the light armor.
This is so worrying. Now he's going to pick up the heavy, and it's just going to be constant pressure once again from k1llsen. And there seems to be no light at the end of the tunnel for dramiS, but he's done quite a lot of damage there. Will he better finish up the rockets? 30 HP. Can he get it done? Neither player wants to take the risk, but you could see dramiS was edging towards temptation just to at least get that first frag. But will he be able to? No, he does not, as k1llsen comes right from behind and gets the 4th one.
Yeah, and we're seeing it in action. Just the lack of maneuverability and speed from dramiS on that k1llsen is a big problem. He's getting picked apart from k1llsen, who is cutting him off at every exit. And the lack of speed means dramiS is far too conscious of his positioning to get the light armors. He's reluctant to go out of this middle space. It's really, really hard for him to force positioning, and his rail hasn't been connecting anywhere near as much as he would have wanted, in part because k1llsen's done a great job of limiting those rail fights.
Yeah, certainly has done these. He's fired a few now, Dan. It's all right. He's hit 14. Sorry, he's fired 14, hit 50%. For dramiS' side, he's hit 33%. 14 items to the 8 with k1llsen dramiS at the moment. 4 minutes in, and this is not looking good. And I'm not going to lie, I kind of feel like even with 6 minutes left to play, but k1llsen's going to try and kill him. If he does, makes it a 5th frag. And trying to claw back 5 frags against a slash with 4 minutes left. I know 4 minutes sounds like a long time, but on a map like this, it just feels like nowhere near for a lifetime. It's going to be so tough for dramiS indeed. But yeah, even if he plays it really slow, it kind of feels like it's a bit too late for him to do that now. Mega's up in the next 12 seconds. Heavy's up now. And it looks like k1llsen's just going to make that rotation back and forth for the items.
Yeah, and the game management from k1llsen is spot on. He's not taking any unnecessary fights. He's not exposing himself to even here. He doesn't want to take a fight. He's just trying to do any sort of damage. More than enough damage he did. Obviously, eating a rail is not ideal. And this is the first time in a while k1llsen's been semi-vulnerable. Can dramiS make more of this situation?
Yeah, this is the question we're looking for. And I just saw that hits him in the end. Left him on 69 HP. Does recover a little bit to refrain himself from being available, but does manage to catch him as he went up that heavy jump pad. 3 minutes left. Decides to go back on through. I like that little play, but the only problem is the light hasn't appeared as of yet, but now he's on 10 HP. This is so important, and dramiS does get the first frag, but time is ticking here, Dan.
And you see, that's the first time all game dramiS had a run of play that went his way, got an exchange of damage that went his way, got the items, and caught k1llsen out of position. He made him punished. 7.5 minutes before that, k1llsen was playing pretty much perfect. So the question is, can he find 4 more opportunities within 2.5 minutes to even tie this up?
Really don't know, but he needs to take some huge risks, which he has done. He needs to dive on in. Those kind of moments where you're worried about taking damage, he knows now that he just needs to literally just run with it, because at this point, 2 minutes left, there's no messing around, there's no thought process. You have to overextend and be able to try and challenge him in any way you can, and this could be a good start here, but he doesn't kill some of the defensive rockets. Yeah, it should be more than enough here, and now just catch him on the spawn with that rail. Looking for the second if he comes up, and will he be able to catch him? 1, 2, 3, catches him again, and now just one more rail to try and seal that 7th frag, but decides to leave him.
The big problem is, because of the time and because of the situation, dramiS had to overextend. He went looking for his opponent before the Mega. His opponent was waiting on the Mega. Got it. Worked up positioning for the heavy, and by that point, dramiS had no choice. He couldn't let his opponent get away with a free heavy, and that's all she wrote, unfortunately, Lethal. There is no chance now that dramiS comes back into this and forces a comeback. He might get a frag, he might get 2, but he's definitely not going to get 6. And you have to look at this and say, amazing game management from k1llsen. Again, we know he's renowned for amazing plays, flashy plays, but this was more of a masterclass in strategy. And the way in which he had that game management, born out of respect for dramiS, shows why he is the previous champion and one of the favorites for this one.
Certainly is indeed. I'd like to see how k1llsen can do more from that hyper-aggressive approach, but defensively, he was very, very good. That's probably some of the best defensive plays I've seen so far from him, especially on that corrupted keep game. But in this one, yeah, dramiS realised around that 2nd or 3rd frag mark, he was fighting a losing battle here. Just couldn't get the overstack going. k1llsen just been really well aware on the whereabouts on where dramiS could be leaving him, and maybe his plan of action coming into this matchup. 25 seconds left, 8 frags behind. The only thing dramiS could do now is maybe try his best to keep the score respectable, but if anything, here we go, gets the 2nd frag. So yeah, a bit of a shame there from dramis's part. I think we expected a little bit more, but it's like you said, it's all about the consistency from that approach to keep being a nuisance for your opponent, and he did that all series long. So GG's all round, as dramisS will be heading into the losers bracket. k1llsen will be moving forward onto the winner's side with that 2-0 victory, Dan.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic play by k1llsen. And this type of performance shows, like I said, not only why he's one of the favorites, but also why he was so proficient at reeling in the 3-0s week on week. Just solid, all-round play, relatively risk-averse, straightforward Quake. But the game management is what really impressed me today. And kudos to dramisS for forcing him to play like that, because it was a different side of k1llsen that we don't often see, but a side of a champion that we now are going to see more of. Hello, Wheat.
Hi.
You had a change of wardrobe.
I may have forgotten to put my jacket on.
I didn't even notice until he said that.
I realized as I opened up the door, I was like, oh, hey, forgot to put my jacket back on. That's okay.
You've given the illusion away that you didn't just stand with us all cast.
So we've got casual Wheat. It's fine. Casual Wheat's good.
It is. That's exactly right, Lethal. You know, it was really interesting watching k1llsen's face throughout the matchup. Like, the smile slowly coming back, that first frag, and then it was like and then after the first game, everyone was like, oh, k1llsen's smiling now. He looks like he's having fun. Honestly, he looked great. He looked really good. Solid through and through. I think that's exactly the quarterfinal match that he wanted to play. Certainly, whoever's going to be facing off against him in the next round is going to look at that and be like, all right, you know, yeah, k1llsen might have like dropped that map in day 1. He's here to play.
Yeah, no, 100%. It was, I think, of all the games we've seen, that performance, considering the caliber of player he was going up against, was probably the most clinical. We know we saw Wenger versus Buckster, similar set of circumstances. That was the same play style, and as you said, the respect was there, the awareness from there, and just end-to-end game management was superb.
Yep.
Yeah, and going that from k1llsen's side as well, when you're playing against players like dramiS, Serious, etc., it's just avoiding their cross. It's all about the decision-making at the end of the day to avoid all these aim school players who literally just buy on like this and the aim track and everything else is looking so damn good. But players like dramiS yesterday, just avoiding that like the plague and just making sure he feels uncomfortable. k1llsen in that map in particular, making sure he feels uncomfortable so that he doesn't pursue with his aim skill alone. But for dramiS, I think we knew that was a losing battle just due to the champion matchup. We said that as soon as k1llsen gets that early lead, dramiS is going to be some deep, deep trouble. And we saw that from start to finish in that last map.
Yeah, we did. And that means that, of course, k1llsen's going to be moving on. He's got a spot in the semifinals, the first of 4 that we will see here in just a moment. We're going to take a break, but when we return, quarterfinal matches continue. This time, dramiS versus Aavik. 2 Titans going head-to-head. You're going to see the explosions right here on the main stage. Don't go away. Another quarterfinal match coming at you right after this.